Hey everyone, I just wanted to make a quick video about these Iris lens cap covers that I 3D modeled and printed. So these Amazon Irises are amazing. They're really cheap compared to standard pricing for anything having to do with night vision. And they're just so useful for being able to focus on stuff that's really close up, or being able to really dial down the amount of light that comes through so that these are able to be used in pretty much daylight conditions. The problem is that nobody that I've seen makes a cap that's compatible with these irises. The cap that comes with it is just a pain in the butt. So my experience with them is, say you're stowing this inside of a bag, it takes little to no force for them to just pop right off. So that's the first concern I had. The second concern I had is, where do you store them? The traditional caps, they go up over the top and they won't work because of the focus ring, the aperture size ring. It's easy enough to model one that'll fit over the top, but you run into the same exact problem as you'll have with these. Where do you store it? Do you carry them with you? You're gonna have to find storage for them, and secure storage that's not gonna damage them or lose them, or you leave them behind, and leaving them behind is not exactly the optimal solution, because then you have to get back to them before you expose your optics to any bright sources of light. The other problem is I tried to work with these. I tried to use the little lanyard hole, but then I ended up with this problem. You know, you're not going to be able to creep around quietly with this every time you turn your head. I thought about sticking a magnet on here and putting a magnet over here, but I'm not always going to be wearing my helmet. Sometimes I'm just raw dogging it, carrying a single monocular, or doing this kind of setup, just carrying it around, bringing it up to my eyes, and then bringing them down. The other problem is, when there's bumps in the night, I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm not always wearing pants. So I don't have pockets to stick these in. So, and I'm just walking around with no gear whatsoever. So these end up on the ground or on the bed, tossed inside of the bag. And then when I come back in, I don't want to turn on the light and wake up my wife. So these get stashed somewhere away from where light's going to be able to hit them directly. And then it might be days before I remember, oh yeah, I gotta cap them. And then by that time, potential damage may have occurred. So I decided to come up with these. They're modeled after laser diffusers that I've seen that kind of have the same design. And then though I think the original idea behind those were probably something along like the lines of bikini caps that have like some sort of retaining loop attached. Again, those don't quite work because of the diameter over here, and then also they're made out of rubber, so they're flimsy, so they're more difficult to wrangle, and they can't be just operated with a single finger. So one of my primary design concerns was making sure that this was all self-contained and on board. You didn't have to worry about what you were going to do with the caps, and being able to carry them with you and be able to flip them down at a moment's notice. I also wanted to make sure that they were real easy to operate with just a single finger. So this is what I came up with. It's cam over the top design. So what ends up happening is they pop up and over, and then they're just retained by tension. And this is where the direction of most force is going to be applied, and you have no concern with the lens cap coming down and blocking your view. Even from the top, takes a significant amount of force to make that happen. And when it's like that, you can still see plenty fine. The only way to truly block the view is coming from all the way behind. With it on, I just want to show you that there you go, you can see the light peeking through. They fully do block any light that's coming in. So in designing it, I ended up having the problem of the focus ring, the knurling on it. You can see there, it's pretty abrasive, enough to file down my fingernail. And that would abrade the inner surface. You can actually see this, like the parallel streaking of that wear pattern from that just grinding over the inner surface of that. And that's a concern. I mean, eventually it will wear all the way through the cap, but the biggest concern was just dust. It ended up putting dust on the sacrificial lens or on the objective lens. So I came up with this little protective ring, and it's just made out of the same material, just nylon. And it has a little internal lip right there. And that bottoms out against the iris focusing ring, or the aperture ring, that ends up being the pivot point for right there where it's making contact. And that allows you to not have to worry about it eating through the lens cap or leaving a lot of dust on your lens. It's not perfect. It does get rid of a little bit of your ability to get a grip on it, but there's still plenty of surface to grab onto. So also in my design process, I wanted to make sure that there was plenty enough gap there in order to get a good grip on the focusing ring for the objective lens. And I don't want to mess with it too much because I don't want to have to wait for a clear night to focus it back out to infinity. But there's plenty enough to grab onto and still twist, as long as you don't have like super meaty fingers. Yeah, so that's the iris lens cap covers that I came up with. If you guys have any ideas on how to improve them or something that's needed, they're pretty lightweight. I wanted to make sure that they were streamlined and they didn't snag on everything. They're no more snag prone than any of the other projections on a PVS 14. And they're really lightweight. They're just printed out of fiber reinforced nylon, and about the heaviest part is just this screw with a nut and a couple of tiny little washers. Weigh a couple grams altogether, so you won't really be able to tell that you're using them. And then also making sure that the primary problem with this was solved. They're retained. They're not gonna come off without force on them. Another thing specific to the M1 Pana bridge or anything that doesn't have like a completely linear interpupillary setting is, in order to set the distance between the eyes, you have to rotate it on this pivot, and up isn't necessarily always up, as you can see. So having enough tension to stop it from being able to get pulled forward, but at the same time enough so that you can make up still be up no matter which angle you pivot it to, was a design concern. You can fix that slop if you want to just have them fixed with just a little bit of electrical tape, paper, whatever you have handy, and you can just pinch them down underneath the ring. But for my use case, I wanted to make sure that there's still enough play so that as I adjust it, I could still maintain that up orientation, just so that it's that much easier to flip the caps over. And then also have enough clearance so that you can dial in the iris for whatever you need it to be. Specifically because I like to make sure that the irises are always in their closed position before I pop the caps up, and then dial for the amount of light that I'm experiencing. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have any comments, go ahead and drop them below. Thanks for watching.